giving chair comments here, but maybe I'm out of order. But I'll never have been much to follow the script. But I just want to say that one thing that I think the WWA board, maybe to no fault of these people here, but we've got to improve the image, I think, of being a customer-oriented utility. Also, we want to be very transparent. Heretofore, it's been kind of difficult. You basically had to call and ask. And with that, I'll go ahead and do a roll call of the members. Of course, I'm here. Bo Speed, present. Just say present.
Present.
Larry DeLozier,
Present.
David Bollinger,
Present.
Doug Chambers,
Present.
Nathan Prince.
Present.
Okay, looks like we have a quorum of 6 members. I think to start off with, I'd ask each one of y'all, and we'll just start down there with Mr. Prince to come around. In 2 minutes or less, give us your life history. You know, so just kind of tell us a little bit about what you are, where you come from, and so the board can understand a little bit more about each other. Mr. Prince.
Yeah, my name is Nathan Prince. I was born here in Northwest Arkansas, grew up in Prairie Grove. Currently reside outside of Savoy. Wife and 3 little boys keep me busy with sports and everything else. And I'm just looking forward to the opportunity to serve on this board.
What do you do, Nathan?
I work for Black Hills Energy. I'm a
Okay.
business development account manager.
Okay. Thank you, Larry.
Larry DeLozier. I'm a lifetime resident of Washington County. Was born and raised in Tawnytown, and presently live in Fayetteville out off of 85th Street. My position is Director of Poultry, National Poultry Sales for QC Supply, and love this county. Thank you.
David Bollinger.
I was born and raised in Madison County, moved to Washington County, and spent most of my life in Washington County. Retired after 31 years from J.B. Hunt. Spent a little time on Planning Commission and City Council in Tawnytown. So here I am.
Doug Chambers.
Doug Chambers. Currently just moved to the county and became a part of Washington Water Authority, or a member. And I own a local landscape company and have 2 little girls keep me busy. I'm glad to help out in this role.
All right. Bo Speed.
My name is Bo Speed. I, longtime resident, born and raised in Siloam Springs, live in Prairie Grove currently. An underground utility contractor. Currently live between Prairie Grove and Farmington, and excited to be on the board, maybe to change an image of Washington Water Authority. Like I said, it's a public utility, and I'd like to be part of that change. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, guys. Next item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. Does anybody have anything to add to the agenda? If not, I'm going to add one. Let's, I guess you insert it between 21 and 22, but I'd like us to have a resolution speaking to the ordinance that outlines the qualifications for board membership on this entity. Okay. Any other changes? If not, all in favor, aye? Turn your mics on.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, I see I see a bunch of red lights, so we must have passed. All right, election of officers. The ordinance in which we're formed under provides for the judge to appoint on a completely new board setting as we have here, a chairman. And I guess he don't like me because he appointed me. But that being said, we have to have, I think, a VP, a treasurer, and a secretary. I believe that's the only three offices that we have. Is that correct? Okay. All right. We can do this a number of ways. I'd just like to offer up some names for y'all to consider, and then we can have another round. We'll offer up more names. I'd like to enter the name of Bo Speed for vice chair, treasurer David Bollinger, and secretary Larry DeLozier. Anybody else got any names to throw forward? If not, again, I'll tell you to turn on the mics and let's vote on this. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? I didn't hear anybody, so I guess y'all are elected. I'm bad about going before I get my gun loaded, but I've had the chairman comments already, so the next thing we need to talk about, even though the ordinance says that I can choose a meeting place and time, I kind of want to visit with all of y'all. I don't think Monday mornings is good for me at all. Not that I sleep in a lot, but I think most people's got Monday morning, they're figuring out what they're gonna do the rest of the week. I prefer having it later in the week and after lunch, if that suits y'all, but I want to hear each one of y'all, because I don't know, I know Bollinger's real busy. He drives a motorcycle a lot, so, I mean, he's got a busy schedule, but, does any of y'all got any days seriously that, are just definitely out?
Friday's not a good day.
Friday's not a good day? That's right, because I leave town a lot on Fridays. Okay? So Friday's out. Does anybody have an objection to Thursday, like at 1 o'clock? Okay, so the only thing we have to work around with now is see when this room, because we will continue to video and audio our meetings like we are this one. Outside of the third Thursday at 6 o'clock, the quorum court meets. Now, I certainly don't see our meetings running to interfere with that, but I just throw that out for conversation so we can meet second, third, fourth. We need to have ample time in that our books are kept by a third-party accountant. And I spoke with them, and, you know, they'll accommodate whatever we have, but to have a full month closing at the end of the month, you need oftentimes 10 days for the banks to get your statements out for them to recon and have a finished set of books. So we're either looking then, I guess, at the third or the fourth. So it's your pleasure. Somebody tell me which one works the best. No, the third at 6 o'clock.
I think the 4th would be fine.
Fourth?
I mean,
Okay. Fourth Thursday,
4th Thursday.
1 o'clock. All right. If you would, press your button again and let's vote.
Mr. Chairman, if I could interject really quickly, we have a meeting in here at noon on the 4th Thursday.
Okay.
So I don't, that could very well run into 1 o'clock. I don't know that if you could put that off another thing.
Would the third work?
The
for
third
you?
Thursday, I think, would work. Working around the quorum court meeting, of course, but I think that would be.
Thank you, Judge, because we didn't know. That's fine with us. Third Thursday then. Okay, man, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No opposed. Thank you, gentlemen. One thing I will mention while we're on the subject of meetings, Robert's Rules of Order. I am certainly not a professional parliamentarian, I believe is the correct word, but there's some neat little cheat sheets. I'll pass these around, and y'all pick one of these because they're both available on Amazon, and like $5 or $8 a piece, I think, and we'll pick whichever one the majority likes. But I think it'd be helpful to have a quick reference sheet available to you at all times. I think that's about all it's that. Okay, item 6, discussion of RDOT's Highway 170 project in Farmington. Gentlemen, this is, I guess, it's not a day that lives in infamy. I think it's been a period of years that lived in infamy. And I can make a commitment that I don't think this body will be suing any of our neighboring cities and our state agency. But with that, I'm going to give you a thumbnail sketch of the way I understood it, but I'm not nearly as versed with it as a member of the audience out here, Mayor Ernie Penn. But rather than me kind of give you a halfway deal, I'm going to let him talk, and then we can discuss further. Mayor Penn.
I usually can talk pretty loud, so I guess if you're recording me, I guess I need to be official. Thank you all for letting me be here today, and I'm gonna just tell you one thing. Zach and Stephanie are top-notch folks, so I want to say that about
We
those
know
folks.
that, but thanks
Yeah.
for reaffirming it.
Yeah, so, and I want to say, I'm excited about having a board that is going to make it a priority to take care of all of our citizens out there in Washington Water Authority's locations. And the fact that I think we'll have a really good working relationship that will be very productive in the future for us and cities and all the cities and everything. So Zach's been really good about working with our guys, and so we appreciate that very much. In a nutshell, our project started about 3-4 years ago when we started applying for the funds to Highway 170. And that's from 62, where I'll just use the tobacco store. I don't know if some of y'all go there, but from the tobacco store all the way to Clyde Carnes. So the proposal was to widen that road to 3 lanes, 3 lanes with a center turn lane, curb and gutter, and sidewalks on both sides. So we got money allocated from 2 different sources, the State Highway Department and also the federal funds. And so anyway, so this all started, and I'm not an expert in the exact process, but some of the first things they had to do was all the utility companies had to agree to relocate. And so RDOT interject with their engineering studies, and they came up with a price, what it's going to cost for them to relocate their utilities, and then RDOT pays a certain percentage. Basically, I think it's 95%, 96%, something like that. So it kind of moved along there. We bought, the city of Farmington bought all the right-of-way, got that taken care of. We reimbursed our portion. We had to put 20% of our money into the right-of-way. So that's all been taken care of. It's been done for quite some time. So anyway, we get down to where we're ready to bid the project, and basically came down to the fact that WWA had not agreed to relocate their lines in the areas that are in conflict with the right-of-way of the highway. And so I think we had, I don't know how many meetings we've had. We've had numerous. I know there's been several meetings in the last year that were in person with the RDOT officials, and just honestly, nothing ever progressed from those meetings. We never got any compromise. We never got any kind of agreement about the disagreements, and so basically the project has been in a standstill for the last two years. And you know, we've got a high school out there that our kids are driving to, and if y'all driven on Highway 170, it's the same size and the same quality as it was when I was 8 years old and I rode my bicycle on it. And that's been 61 years ago. So just kind of put it in perspective. And so I'm not an expert in the utilities, but, I know, RDOT has numerous, engineers, and I know Zach's an engineer, and some of the, I think ESI was the engineering group that looked at it for them, and Garver was our engineers who designed the project. And so it basically just boiled down to, we had to agree to disagree, but we never could come to an agreement. And so really, that's kind of the where we're at right now. The RDOT did verify with the Federal Highway Authority that what they proposed and what they're willing to reimburse is correct. And so they're not going to allow any additional funding. They're not going to rebuild the whole system out there. They're just going to they're going to approve what's in conflict. And so that's,
For the board, I've put a letter from the federal as well as the Arkansas Department of Transportations that outlined, and I might add that the summary of cost here was, I think, a projection that was done by ESI. Is that correct, Zach? But that is very, very old, and I think Zach showed me one last week that's, according to ESI, was going to be 2.2 million. That's what waiting 3 years does to you in a market like we're in. I'd say this: I've never heard of a utility sitting here trying to arm wrestle when you're going to widen the road and you're asked to move. Mr. Speed here was involved in moving one of the utilities in that area, and that was done how long ago?
About 2.5 years.
So we're sitting here. Like I said, I'm embarrassed to say this, but the former management and board thought it was a good idea to sue a city and a state department, and between engineers and attorneys, they have spent about $150,000. And unfortunately, the judge seems to be like-minded with most common people, saying, how do you file a lawsuit when there's no damages been produced yet, and throwed it out? So we've got exactly nothing for $150,000. But I would like to offer for consideration, do you know, Zach, if any of this 3,915 feet, if there's any part of that we don't have an easement, if we wanted to move that tomorrow?
I'd say most of it would require additional easement at this time.
A new easement?
A new easement, that's right.
And is there multiple, or is it all one pretty big block of land that we'd have to get easements?
Some of it's big block of land from the new Farmington school acquisition down there at the corner. And then there'll be a handful of individual property owners beyond that.
But I bet you the mayor would see that we got an easement on his part, but do you know how much about outside of what y'all own that private individuals or companies own?
No, I don't know that figure right off the top of my head.
Okay.
So, but I know the school bought that additional land because they're gonna build either an elementary or a junior high there. So there won't be a problem getting an easement from the school because they need that road to be improved because it's a safety issue for all of our kids going out there and all the people that live in southwest part of Farmington. So.
Well, one thing, since this is dated material, it looked like that they were at one point. I don't have any idea what the comps would be running there on an easement that we would need to acquire. In that new 2.2 million number, did they have easements? Do you recall?
There was a portion of it allocated for easement acquisition. The exact number I don't have off the top of my head.
Yeah, and in this old number here of 1.5 million, they've got about $77,000 between easements and easements acquisitions, which I don't understand the difference. Surely you wouldn't pay an easement right of $30,000 to get a few easements, but I'm not in that business, but it seems a little rich. Anyway, of course, that's the first thing we have to get out of our way before we started doing anything, but what seems logical to me is, and Zach, you can correct me if I misunderstood you, but it seems where the rub came is that the total project that WWA said they wanted replaced was 9,055 feet, and the highway department or Department of Transportation said there's only about half of that, 3,915 feet. And unquestionably, that's got to move, but the remaining difference between those two numbers, it's my understanding the existing water lines would be extremely close to the improved highway, maybe at some points as close as a foot off the edge of the highway. And certainly, I know there's some 12-inch line and some other lines, but regardless of the line size, it would be virtually impossible if you had a leak to repair that without more than likely damaging the road. So from that standpoint, that's the only caveat I could understood that WWA had maybe a reasonable argument, but on the other hand, reasonable and common sense would see if you've got two consenting adults, you generally can work out anything. And it would seem logical to me that if Mayor Penn and RDOT and or both would sign some sort of a hold harmless clause protecting WWA from having to rebuild roads that are brand new, then there'd be no harm on our part. And certainly, the only thing that has to be discussed is what the current cost to move that 3,900 feet, which shouldn't take us very long to dust off the numbers and get what easement's gonna cost us. And I don't know which lawyer he was gonna get to draw up these easements for $50,000, but that seems a little rich too. So, and maybe we ought to look at some different lawyers that maybe don't work or have to drive from Little Rock up here to do those. But I digress. But in broad brushing it, Mayor, does that sound reasonable that if we ask your city, which I understand it's long-term going to be the owner of this road because RDOT is going to flip it to you, so it seems to me like
That's correct.
we're not going to be tearing up the road until they get it finished, but if we could get some kind of agreement, get your lawyer and our lawyer to kind of sit down and hash out a hold harmless clause, just a simple hold harmless clause. That
Correct.
outside this, and we'll define the area,
Yeah.
and outside of that, understand we're not going to be out there digging unless there's water coming out of the ground. You know what I mean?
Correct.
So
Well, RDOT, you know, I've been conversing with Director Tudor. I talked to her. In fact, she called me about 30 minutes before I came up here, and she's wanting to know the status. And the road commissioner, Philip Taldo from Springdale, he was calling and checking on it and wanted to know what we're doing. So basically, the last correspondence that they had with RDOT was through the attorneys there in Little Rock. They were not conversing with anybody at WWA. The department has verified, like I said a while ago, with the Federal Highway that the department's cost, I'll just read you what it says. The department's cost is estimated at 95.6% of the actual total replacement cost of those utilities that are in conflict. As prices have risen due to this delay, the estimated dollar amount provided in the 2020 cost estimate, which you referred to, is no longer valid. However, the percentage of the total cost the department will pay stays relatively the same. And so they do not have any kind of a cost estimate past the 2020 cost estimate. So the one that y'all have gotten, you know, that's new to them, I guess. They haven't seen that. And it said no updated estimate had been provided by WWA's consultant. And so, and I really think that RDOT, and maybe, I don't know if this board needs to meet with RDOT or the chairman and the people that work at WWA, but I think RDOT's willing to come up here and talk about the issues and get them resolved.
Well, I think since, it's a three-way party here, you and RDOT and us, that would be in order. In the meantime, Zach, if we could come up with some new numbers, so we have numbers to talk with, because it really does very little good to talk about it and say, whatever it is, it is.
Exactly,
But
exactly.
all we know that once we get the number, we're out for 5% of that, and RDOT's out for the 95%.
Yeah.
But, this thing, like you said, it's beginning to smell. It's been around so long. So let's try to put this in four-wheel drive and high speed and get on down the road, because
Well, the difference has been the amount of the
Yeah.
conflict. One opinion of RDOT, and,
Well-
they've squeezed this and rubbed it and
Here-
talked about it long enough.
Here's my only comment to RDOT, is to that point would be 3,915 feet, whatever. That's what they say it's there. Now,
Correct.
I think I could also speak, and maybe Bo could speak better than I can. Sometimes WWA's lines aren't where they think they are. I imagine that. But, so we probably need to talk to RDOT, and they're thinking it's 3,900, but if it may turn out to be 4,500 when we get to digging.
Yeah.
And so we gotta have a little caveat in there like that, because
Sure.
I understand, I don't think it's 9,500 square feet, but.
No.
But you see where we're coming. So the sooner we can set up that meeting, we need to have numbers before we can set up that meeting. So Josh, how long you think, God forbid, Zach, how long do you think it's gonna take us to pull some stuff together?
Personally, I haven't been heading up this project, so I need to refresh myself on a lot of this stuff too, but I'd say a week or two, probably to
Okay.
catch up on numbers and where it's at.
Well, sooner than later. Tomorrow'd be nice. Okay? All right. So, that being said, we've kind of talked in general, but the board needs to kind of congeal, and if somebody else wants to throw in a different topic, I think what we ought to do is make a motion for a resolution to move forward in this fashion. Schedule the meeting as soon as Zach has the numbers, as soon as possible, and go from there. So I'll put that in the form of a motion. I don't know if I can motion or not, but one of you guys, if you don't think I can, go ahead and chime in. Let's get to voting.
I
second it.
Yeah. Third.
Okay. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, I believe that was unanimous. So Mayor Penn, we'll be
bet.
with you in a week or two here.
You bet. I appreciate y'all letting me be here and the good work you're gonna do. And so it's a blessing for our city and for the school and all the people that travel that road, because it is two school buses cannot meet each other at this point in time.
Well, I'll apologize again. It's a shame we had to get to this point.
That's all right. We're gonna get it resolved one way or the other.
Yep.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Okay, guys, water audits are something that are required by every public utility and water company across the state by Arkansas Natural Resources Commission, which is the overlord of all financing of water systems throughout the state. And we're required, I was speaking to Miss Debbie Dixon, she thought it was 90 days from the end to close of business of each fiscal year to have them an audit to review. Unfortunately, last year, I believe it was August, before WWA approved an audit. Now, I don't know what all was behind the scenes there, and I don't really care at this point, but I'm gonna tell you, we're gonna try to match or meet what deadlines are given to us by the state. Ms. Dixon did tell me that she would let us, she'd be happy if we could get it there in 120. So that clock began running January 1. We've got an engagement letter from Berry and Associates, who's done prior year audits. I think it is necessary that they get the green light for us to make that date. So we have to, as a board, give a resolution to them that we've agreed to that and sign a engagement letter and send a deposit. So, what say you?
Make a motion, we do so.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and second to engage Barry and Associates to do the 2022 audit for WWA. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, gentlemen. I apologize again to the board, but last week we got our IT people to give us each a washingtonwater.org email, and late in the week, so not everybody has that set up on their computers or iPhones or laptops or whatever way you're going to check it. I gave y'all a number. Encourage you just as soon as possible, because I don't think you probably want WWA business intermingled with your personal emails. So I encourage you to get that done as soon as you can and communicate back to all of us when you're ready. So when we send out, again, I apologize on that board packet. I sent it out, and then I realized, well, probably all of y'all didn't have that, and I sent it out late last night. So if y'all didn't get this packet, I promise you the next time you'll get it ahead enough time you can thoroughly digest it. Okay. Next item, number 9, discuss plumbing permits. There's a little state law called ACA 1412-208. It's been around since 2009, as I recall, but most people either disregarded it. I actually had a city official say, I'm aware of that, have been aware of it, but I didn't want to get in a fuss match with the former management of WWA because it didn't seem to be important enough to me. I've just endured it. And I said, well, the law is what it is. And clearly under this section, a municipality has exclusive right with regard to water service provided by rural water to conduct inspections, permits, regulate. Now, at this point, it's been WWA's position that we've got the sole right because we're the water purveyor. Well, clearly that's against law or what the law outlines. And so we're on a new sheet of paper here, so let's check this thing off. The only thing that I suggested in conversations, and there's been 3 different water systems, or not water systems, but city officials have approached me since the changing of the guard and asked, and I only said this, to have an orderly changeover to what should have been done years ago. Perhaps each city we sit down and have a memorandum of understanding that outlines the date when after that date, if somebody, let's say for instance, in city limits of Farmington comes to WWA to pull a permit, you send them back to Farmington to pull a permit. And all inspections, therefore, going forward with that. The only thing that would come to mind is that there may be, and I'm sure there are, maybe some permits that have been issued by WWA that's had one of the various inspections that has to be done. So y'all's input, is it better that we just say, okay, we done the first inspection, here's the numbers for that, or we continue to do the other remaining inspections? I think either one of them's workable. It's just a matter of, and maybe we got a city representative here, get his input on what would be the cleaner way. Do we want to finish out what we've got hanging in the field, or do y'all want to just take it over and go for it? Because, I mean, you're not going to make me mad either way, Zach.
I've just got one small comment on the ones that we've already started. You know, typically plumbers will come in and purchase a whole plumbing suite, so there would be, depending on how many, a lot of refunds that would need to do if they wanted to just turn them over.
Yeah.
So just keep that in mind.
That's a good point. That's a good point. So with that said, rather than us getting in the refunding business, maybe it's cleaner if we finish what we've issued. And the mayor's nodding his head, so I'm gonna speak for him. I think he's in affirmative to our agreement there. Okay. All right, so with that said, what say y'all? We need a motion.
Oh, I would like to recommend the motion to change, it over to.
Memorandum of understanding.
Huh?
You want a memorandum of understanding outlining the fact that we're turning over all inspections to the cities
Correct,
and finishing the ones that are entering our bid.
correct.
That's a good motion. Okay.
I'll
All right.
second that motion.
All right. Motion second. All in favor?
Hey,
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. All right. Zach is, the story says he kept his light under a bushel. Well, maybe in this case, he's kept his GIS under the bushel. But, I mean, he'd like to show it, and I'd like to see it. So, I don't know, Zach, I forgot the link, but
I can pull it up on your computer. I brought one over, but unfamiliarity with this setup, I don't have it, but
well.
whatever you want to do.
Well, let's, I thought I had it on this one. I didn't have it on it. I'm sorry. I don't have that link to get to that, but what Zach's already got prepared is a GIS, that shows all the, lines and appurtenances of our water system, the whole water system. And, that's nothing new, nothing novel. Fayetteville, Springdale, Town, Rogers, Bentonville, every city in northwest Arkansas has got their water systems displayed in a similar fashion. The only difference is the version of our GIS we're using is the economy model, I'll call it. And I spoke this morning to Mr. Sam Otta, who's over the GIS and inner workings down here at the county, and it may be, Zach, according to him, it'd be simple enough. It'd be just another layer. The only thing he requested that we get with the IT department and the judge to see if they, I don't know anything about it, but he said that be sure that they had room on the server or whatever. If not, we'll display what Zach's already got up there by putting a link to our website. But it seems more prudent for Zach to just do that base layer instead of maintaining the whole thing like he's doing now. And we just turn that over to the county GIS people on some kind of, no set pattern, but as frequent as you want to whenever there's changes. And that's a similar fashion what they're doing with the assessor's data. They have a GIS, but they turn their data over to the county. So we'd be on the county website, and we'd also have a link off our website. But I just wanted y'all to be aware of what was going on, because I know it's very helpful to kind of know, is that a 4-inch line or a 2-inch line, or is it 100 feet from my door or 1 mile, so we'll be able to see that now. So moving on.
Oop, if I may, one note on that. I would like to comment, I need to work on a disclaimer on the front end of that. If you go to GIS, you go to Fayetteville, Springdale or something, they've got a pop-up screen that says, hey, this is approximate.
Sure.
You can't hold us liable if the main's
Yeah,
off,
yeah.
and I'd like to do something similar
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah, that's no problem. Like I said, if we put it on the county, they've already got the disclaimer there. So we don't have to worry about that kind of stuff. And that's why I say they've got a full-time GIS, and you got 1 or 2 more things to do than be a GIS expert. David?
you're proposing that we put a link on the WWA's website to get to this? Is that what you're saying?
It'd be a link and or to the county. I think the resolution needs to say that, or the motion needs to say that we're working to go forward. We recommend that we work forward with the county and our GIS staff to make this available to the public.
So it'd be more of a link off of the county website than it would be the.
Be a link from either way. Be available on the web, I think is the way to say it.
I make a motion, we do it as stated.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, push your button, I can't hear you, Doug.
Second.
You're soft-spoken. You're not around your wife now, so you can speak up, you can talk in your outside voice. Okay, we got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
No opposed, I don't think. If so, say it. Thank you. Appreciate it. The next thing to the same point, but a different area, standard specifications of WWA as it regards to construction, so on and so forth. Again, nothing new. Every major water system that I know has those published. Unfortunately, I have a little personal experience of this I'll expand on just for a moment. I had a little 3-lot subdivision that I asked for the standard specifications from Zach, and Zach seemed like was very willing, but I think he got directed not to respond to me. But I don't think people should have to, first of all, ask too many questions. That ought to be available to us, so we need to add that to the link, but I'd like the board to act on it without us just putting in that in Zach before we vote.
Sorry, I have one little disclaimer on that one too. WWA does not actually have an approved Arkansas Department of Health set of specs yet. So before we publish anything, it needs to go through ADH to get that up on the website.
Well, I'm gonna have to recheck that, Zach, because you told me that once before, and I've checked a few around, and I don't see a HD stamp or Department of Health stamp on any that are published. So we'll get clarifications. If we gotta have it, we'll have it. I know Towntown's got an engineer stamp. It's been revised 3 times in the last 10 years. Fayetteville didn't seem to have any kind of codification on theirs, but if we need to, we certainly will do that. Okay, so we got a motion and a second. I guess we need to vote on that. All in favor?
Aye.
None opposed, okay. Same goes, this probably could have all been put in one motion, but terms of service. The terms of service, what I would call as close a thing as WWA's got on the website now that speaks to terms of service, basically address what they can do with billing. There's several out there, and I think we could plagiarize a lot of them. One thing in particular that I have a problem with, that I don't think we've got a policy to address it, but when we do get around to putting these terms of services, I'd like to kind of view, I don't think anybody purposely wastes water, and I know there's all kind of occasions where sometimes you've got it, but I hate to see an elderly person come in and no fault of their own, they didn't even know about it, but they have a leak and an $800 water bill. Most cities and our rural water. As a matter of fact, I had a little occurrence with this with Grand Prairie Water District in DeWitt, Arkansas. We had a duck camp and had a $600 water bill, which normally is $30, because somebody run over our meter with a bush hog. But they had a policy, and it turned out we still paid a little more than we should have, but had it not been busted. But anyway, something to that effect. I'm rambling a little bit, but I just don't think we should say it's your problem because you didn't know you had a water leak. And correct me if I'm wrong, Zach, a large percentage, and you can tell me how much approximately, of our meters now are cellular red, right?
That is correct, about 80%.
So I know different levels of technology are out there, but do you have the ability to look at those, meters or have any kind of a monitor background that would tell you if the flow was continuous or something of that nature?
We do, and Steph may help me out on this one, but we try to check that on a almost daily basis and to get ahead of some of the problems. I know we've saved customers a lot of money. It used to be where the radio reads, we wouldn't know there was a problem until we radio it once a month.
Right.
And so you could rack up a bill for 3 weeks, 4 weeks. Now we know within a few days, and we do our best to try to let people, when we get the time, to get a look on it and get a hold of it.
Well, when we create a policy for the board to approve, you know, I mean, that in and of itself was gonna eliminate a lot of this, because if you tell somebody they got a problem and then they don't do anything about it, there wouldn't be too much of an adjustment there on our part, because we've told you about it. But if you don't have that, and I know you have some meters that still aren't, what would you say the percentage of non-cellular?
20%, does that sound about right, Darren? It's about 80-20.
And that's due primarily just
No cell towers
cell signal.
in the southern part of the county. There's just no cell signal.
Yeah, okay. All right, well,
One little more note on that. We do give a little info packet when you sign up for new service. That it's called Eye on Water. Any one of the customers has access to this. They can see exactly what we see, and they can set up alerts on their end too. So, but unfortunately, even with the packet, we've only got an 8% adoption rate. It's real low, even with new service. Nobody ever signs up for the app until they have a problem, and then they get on.
well, it could be like some of us who've tried to sign up for online bills 4 times and it never works.
Yeah, we want to improve that one too.
No pun intended, but anyway. All right, with that said, I think we can post what we've got, which relates to billing, but I would like maybe at the next meeting for you to have a revised upgrade and plagiarize as much as you can from some of these other cities that's already got a 30-page terms of service manual, because I know you give everybody a packet, but if they're like me, they probably lost it or the grandkids got it and dogs ate it or something. So if we get it on the web, they're not gonna lose it. Okay, I think we'll just we need a motion to publish that terms of service.
Make a motion to publish look at the WAU terms of service.
Second.
Motion is second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Okay. I talked to Stephanie the other day, and I asked her, did she ever have the occasion to get chewed out by an upset customer? And she said she remembered it one time. Was that it in 20? Oh, maybe it was more than one time. Seriously, one of the things that we're dealing with now, we're dealing with an older analog phone system, and it doesn't have the capabilities that newer phone systems are there. And I put in your packet a proposal to consider. First of all, I put in the Prairie Grove telephone bill, which is running something over $505 a month right now. Now, that includes about $80 worth of internet, but we'll get to that in a later discussion about Ozark Go, but the internet speed is 200 megabytes. You can get the same service, for same price service, but it's a gigabyte, 5 times as fast from Ozark Go, and that's why later we'll decide what we're going to do there. But the rest of this, keep that in mind, and let me try to get this other one up. All right, this is a proposal from Nextiva. Nextiva is one of the largest, maybe the largest VoIP, Voice over Internet Protocol provider in the country. I've had personal experience with it in a couple of businesses, and it's got too many features for me to discuss, but I want to talk about a few of them just to give you an idea. Y'all probably all called Black Hills, Ozark Electric, AT&T. Most everybody you call anywhere now, after they say thanks for calling so-and-so, they'll say this call may be recorded for quality assurance. In my experience in business, it's not like nobody don't trust anybody, but it comes in very helpful, especially when you got a long drawn-out conversation. Well, what did I exactly promise to do? Did you want 5 of these or 6 of those? I realize we're not selling apples today, but it also puts us in a position where anybody, if somebody is upset, there's a record there that anybody can check. Now, I understand we're already recording calls, which is fine as long as you're talking to one person. It's not so good if you're on a conference call, because that violates Arkansas law. One-on-one conversations are legally recordable, but group conversations, everybody has to be notified that they're being recorded. So that being said, we cover that on the front end of this. The other beauty of this, I was talking to the gentleman to my right here, Mr. Speed, the other day, and we were talking about various utilities, and more particularly in regards to a problem. Let's say Billy Bob, a customer, calls in and really irate about something. Could be as simple as somebody's backhoe in the front yard, digging up or whatever, things happen. But rather than Stephanie or one of her understudies sitting there and getting a real good chew session going, this system would work something similar to this, and it can be tailored to some degree, but when they have a really bad situation, rather than her sitting there saying Billy Bob was really mad and this and that, because he may be talking so fast that she's not transcribing everything, she says, "Excuse me, Billy Bob, we're going to deal with your complaint here, but I don't fix those kind of problems, but I'm going to put you to somebody that does." Now, this person probably is on a piece of equipment right now, and he can't hear what you're going to say, but I'm going to transfer you to this system, and 2 things are going to happen. 3 things, actually. 1, you will be recorded. 2, that recording is automatically transcribed into a written transcript, and both of those items then are going to be sent to our field operations manager or manager. We can route it to 2, 3 different people, and they will be back to you within 24 hours, no fail, or the next business day if it happens to be on Friday afternoon. But I think we probably ought to say 24 hours, because if he's hot, we don't want to let him stew on it all weekend, because he might have a gun. But anyway, that being said, that's one of the features that can be done there. The other thing, these are wireless. They can choose to have a headset. They can choose to talk through their computer, or they can choose to talk to a conventional phone set. So with that said, I put up a deal here. The monthly versus $500 is $256. Now, this includes us buying some hardware, which you have the option in this program. If you don't want to spend $800 for the hardware up front, you can lease it for 2 years and have the right to upgrade as newer models come out. But as technology changes, I think on a headset or 2 you might could buy and have no reoccurring charge. But for about $800 outlay, and then our recurring costs would be about half of what we got. We're still going to be well under, even when you charge Ozark Go back to that, we're still going to be well under what we're currently paying. Seems like a no-brainer, but on the other hand, I wanted the board's input on this and thoughts and comments.
You have some past experience with Nextiva, do you?
Yeah. But I'm not selling Nextiva today. I mean, there's others out there. I'm just familiar with this one.
Did you say this was cheaper?
What's that?
Did you say this was cheaper?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. $250 a month versus 500, but back 70 out, so add 80 to that. 80 and 250 would be $320 versus $505. Yeah, cheaper.
Do these type companies have, good support?
Yeah, that's one thing that I mentioned next, Steve, because you can Google them and they're a sheet that long, but your reviews constantly are high on Nextiva about the quality of service. I personally have dealt with them. Hardly ever have I got somebody that I can't understand their English, because most of them are in Arizona, but they're not the ones that's walked across the border in the last couple of weeks, so you can still understand them pretty good.
So would you suggest that you purchase equipment or lease equipment?
We can do a combination. What I presented you is a mixture of $800 worth of hardware, and then we'd have the recurring to that. But you can probably, your monthly's gonna go up a little bit if you don't buy it, but, you know.
I make a motion that we proceed as outlined in this
Proposal.
Second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second that we move forward with upgrading to VoIP phones from Nextiva, as the proposal on the screen there shows. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Do we
All
need a
opposed?
motion to also do the Ozark Go?
Not yet, because it's later in the agenda. We could do it with the one we got, but, you know,
I make a motion, we'll go the Ozark Go along with this.
okay, you're getting ahead of it, but that's fine. We'll go ahead and take that motion in with this motion.
Second.
All right, motion second, we adopt Ozark Go as our internet service provider. Okay? All in favor? Thank you. Okay, I think rather than individuals, the next two items, I'm gonna, or three items, I'm gonna put in one. More of the same, but, meeting minutes, again, you've had to ask. We'll put a web link out, and not only will you get a hard copy of minutes if you want to print them out in a PDF form, but you can also go to the website or go to YouTube and see and hear everything we're talking about right now. Along with that, we need to update our signature cards at Arvest Bank. I think we got Zach and Stephanie and one of Tabitha maybe already, but we need to get all of those updated. So they needed a set of our minutes where the board authorized that. And finally, Ozark Go will need something like that too. So I guess items, what I'm getting to here is item 14, 15, and 16, and 17. If we could adopt those in a single motion by number, and then we'll move forward.
Adopt the motion 14, 15, 16, and 17.
Yeah.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion and second that items 14, 15, 16, and 17 are adopted by the board. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. The other thing that we currently use, and I think it's probably still the largest small business accounting software in the country, is QuickBooks. We're using the desktop version. I've used desktop version, or had used desktop version, for 20 years or longer. And 5 or 6 years ago, I adopted or made the switch to the cloud. Primarily, the thing I like about the cloud and the application we were using it in, the version of QuickBooks we currently use right now is not as scalable in that in QuickBooks in the cloud, or QuickBooks Online, they refer to it as, you can take and tailor make duties or authorities or privileges that users have. And one of the things that we've ran into, you know, I like to ask a lot of questions, and what about this, and how much we spend with that. Well, Stephanie right now is kind of got her hands tied that she can't get to that, but if we go to QuickBooks Online, we can give her as much or little impressions. We may not want her to make journal entries, but we might want her to be able to certainly print a vendor report at the moment's notice. And so that's the reason I'm asking for the board to allow us to move forward. The cost involved are this: QuickBooks Online is a subscription service. QuickBooks Desktop is one deal, and then you pay so many for the updates. It's about $100 a month. Along with that, I mentioned the web time clocks. I've had experience with those. You know, most offices have a time clock. I think WWA just has time sheets you fill out. I've found, having used this product for about 3 years now, that everybody's got a cell phone, or if they don't, I think, Stephanie, did you figure out we got pretty much cell phones for everybody, or do we need some?
We have 3 extra.
Okay, so that would give the 3 field staff that don't have one. And, you know, having a cell phone, we're already paying for those cell phones, so why not utilize them? But they help people in the field to communicate. There needs to be a policy, and I'll leave that up to you, that they don't use them for personal business. It's strictly company. But the one thing I was mentioning, to do the timesheet or the web-based time clock, you can use it on a personal phone. There's nothing but downloading an app. And the neat thing about that, I don't know all I know about your operation, Darren, but if one of your hands, if y'all had a job site and you're going to the job site, he wouldn't necessarily have to drive from wherever he may live to the office to sign in or check in. You may want him to do that, and that's fine too. But when you're out there on lunch, he clocks out 12:01, and he was sitting at Miller's Cafe when he did that, because it geo-references where you clock in at and clock out at. At the end of the week, you'd go to Stephanie, or if we have a third-party people do this, whoever, they review the hours and they approve or disapprove or communicate back and forth. But it's a more modern way of doing things, and having used it for a while, I really like it. So that's the reason I throw that in with the integration when we update. And it's about $8 an employee a month to utilize it, so it's not any big ticket. I'm saying we're around $100 to go to the QuickBooks Online, and then $8 an employee for the others. So.
I make a motion to go forward with the QuickBooks Online and the integration of the web time clock.
Second that.
Have a motion and second to move forward, moving to online and integration. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Speaking of accountants, I spoke to the current accountant that we're using, and there's been a buyout at least twice in the last couple of years. The remaining firm is known as Garland and Greenwood, which is a statewide firm, but they do all of our interim books. They prepare the financials, recon the banks, and so they're preparing an actual scope, because that's the other thing. We had an accountant hired, but we couldn't find a scope of services, so that's kind of concerning me, what they're supposed to be doing, and they didn't have a copy, and we didn't have a copy, and I guess we all just sat around and said, "You do it?" "Oh, no, do you do it?" I mean, it's kind of like the chipmunks. But anyway, we're getting that cleared up. It's about just under $2,000 a month for that service. And depending on whether we decide that, maybe Stephanie could do the web clock approval, because I think you're scanning in timesheets already. It won't take any more time, but maybe what I'm hoping for, we can reduce their bill a little bit if we can do some of the things, that one thing particular is the only thing I'm thinking about. So, but they wanted a resolution saying that we're engaging them for services.
Make a motion, we have a resolution to engage Garland and Greenwood.
Second.
Interim bookkeeping.
Okay, I have a motion and second. All in favor of engaging Garland Greenwood to continue our interim bookkeeping duties?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay. Professional services. As defined in state law, and if I can find this, okay, Article 19, Chapter 11, Subchapter 8, and I won't bore you with reading it through there again, but basically the Arkansas Code annotated provides for professional services such as legal, architectural, engineering, construction, a lot of different fields. And oftentimes that's necessary because this doesn't require you to necessarily get the cheapest, because sometimes the cheapest ain't the best. It's been my past experiences. And a statement of qualifications gives you a written presentation by each entity that you're considering engaging, and the board then to make a conscious decision of why they think they should be using this particular lawyer, for an example, or engineering firm. On the other hand, IT, which I'm not sure when this law was last updated, but IT sometimes is, in my opinion, certainly to be considered as a professional, because you can darn sure get people that say, I can do it, but I mean, they might could install Microsoft Word on there, but when it comes much more to that, they get in a little trouble. So we have to pass, if we want to include IT as a professional service, we have to have a policy, which I've drafted there with the help of Mr. Jeff Hawkins of Regional Planning, soon to be retired from that field, but he's drawn up one or two of these, I think, in his 40-year career, and I asked for his help. So that's before you. If y'all want to adopt it, we can, or stick with, go ahead.
I make a motion that we pass item 20 as stated.
Okay, we have a motion and second to adopt the Washington Water Authority, and I've just called it policy dated 2023-023-06. We can use that number and move forward with a incremental increase. But anyway, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. All right. That said, how about we do a resolution seeking SOQs for a consulting engineer, in that I will share why I'm wanting y'all to consider. We got a $73,000 accounting bill, which I'm going to be asking for the billing sheets, because basically it had a letter, which I thought I had it up there, but I don't guess I do. But it basically said, "Dear Mr. Moore, per your request, we're providing a bill," and it outlines just three hourly totals at hourly rates, but we can't seem to find a contract which was engaged on that. Can't find a scope of services which engaged that, but that's neither here nor there. We need to, I think, get all of our professionals chosen and adopted, because in this particular bill, we said this project that, along 170, it was 100% for engineering studies along Highway 170. And that's been going on for 3 years. Well, I happened to look at the billing statements for this particular engineering firm, and they hadn't billed nothing for year 20 through 22, and then all of a sudden, 10 days after the first of the year, we get a bill for $73,000. I thought we would get probably one. I've never known too many engineers that didn't like to bill monthly at least. I don't know, maybe Mayor Penn does, but I don't. But anyway, so I'm requesting the board to give us a resolution to move forward on sending out SOQs, which a statement of qualifications is just that. It doesn't ask for hourly rates. Of course, that's part of what's provided in the SOQs, but then you can have all of those together and look at them and say, okay, this one's better than that one. A lawyer, for God's sakes, we had a lawyer, and I know he drove at least one time up here, done Zoom meetings the rest of the time, but there's one thing Northwest Arkansas is not short on: lawyers. But anyway, so I think we can find one maybe closer. But for that matter, if we like big house law firms, we got Friday Firm, we got Rose, we got Kutak and Rock. We got people that are national law firms and certainly statewide law firms to choose from. It's got offices already here. And the IT consultant goes without saying. The reason I'm really bringing that up is I spoke briefly about our current IT consultant, and he said our bill was going to about double if we re-upped, which is in March. And I don't know that, I mean, cost of living's went up some, but I don't think it's went up 100%. So anyway, what say y'all?
I move that we, add the resolution to seek SOQs on lawyer.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to allow us to go out and seek SOQs for engineers, IT, and lawyer. All in favor? Opposed? All right, thank you. And the one item that I slipped in between the closing comments and adjournment was the judge said he would like for us to provide him with a resolution saying that we support changing the ordinance that, and let me just get it up here. Well, maybe I thought I had it. Well, darn, maybe I didn't. Well, I'm sorry, gentlemen, but I think I've sent it in a previous email, but the ordinance that was approved to form the RDA and a subset of WWA, and it was amended, I believe, in 2007 or somewhere thereabout. Thank you, Larry. Well, I'm not sure they put a number on it that I can see readily, but anyway, it's the establishment of Washington Water, and it goes on down to say qualifications. Well, which page was it on? Anyway, the current ordinance says to be qualified to be on a board, you must be living in the water service area as well as using the water. So it said shall, and those two qualifications, and. We asked for one word to be changed to are under these scenarios. I may be living in Washington Water's area, but I don't have a Washington Water service tap. I've been trying to get you to get one, but we'd like to have some, but I'm disqualified for being on the board. As an alternative to that, I may live in Farmington or Prairie Grove or somebody else's water service area, and I've got a business in WWA service area, and I don't have a vote, even though I get to pay the bills. So we're asking for the word for that ordinance to be changed to say instead of and to are. And the judge said he'd like a resolution that the board supports that, and then he'd take it from there.
I make a motion that we change that and to or.
Second.
Okay, motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, that's the last item on the agenda. Does any of you gentlemen or have any closing remarks or? With that, I'll call the
Sounds
meeting.
like we've suggested making several web-based changes, so we need to get moving on somebody to do that for us.
You're looking at him right over there.
Okay.
No, Zach has been maintaining, and this is for a later meeting to discuss. He's taken a sow's ear and tried to make it out of a silk purse in our website because it sure ain't fancy, and we could stand an upgrade on our website. But right now, all the links that we've discussed, he has the capability of putting them up. Anybody else? With that, the meeting's adjourned.